Hi, my name is Diego Prieto. I studied actuary at UNAM and I'm finishing the MEDEX at IPADE. Today I'm going to analyze the case Aceitera del Sol. The case has two main characters, Don Luis Gonzalez from Argentina and Wei Chen from China. They want to open a representation office in Hong Kong in order to export the products of Aceiteras del Sol. Aceitera del Sol is a company of Don Luis and produces edible oil products like sunflower oil, soybean oil, and rapeseed oil. In 2007, the company built a total amount of $200 million. The rapeseed oil is important for Aceitera del Sol because it allows the company to diversify the use of the soil in different moments of the year. So, Aceitera del Sol has another person in the manager's team in the case, Tomás Estrada and Hernán Aguilar. Both of them are son-in-law of Don Luis. And Wei Chen has a 3-people team in the representation office. The agreements of this office is that the representation office will operate as an independent company, but doesn't have any defined financial objective yet. Mr. Chen has the maximum responsibility of commercial, financial, administrative, and accounting results. The representation office could work with other companies, even with the competitors of Aceitera del Sol. And the representation office has the same commission that other brokers in the market. For these reasons, Tomás and Hernán are concerned about this agreement, so they ask to an advisor to check this deal. But before, I would like to speak about the strategy of Aceitera del Sol, and I'm going to use this diagram, this strategic map. We know that it's important the process of the crop diversification for the company, and they want to reach a better income. So firstly, they try to increase the number of national clients in Argentina, but they realize that the demand of rapeseed oil in Argentina is not enough for them. So the second step was to export their product to China, and now they are using brokers and exportation pools. But right now they want to create a representation office in Hong Kong in order to improve the number of exportation to this region. The timeline of the creation of the idea of the representation office, it's the one that we are seeing in the screen. It started in 2007, and right now, at the date of the case, we are in January 2009, and it's the moment when Tomás asked to an advisor to evaluate the deal. Tomás has two main concerns: what does the representation office does, and Hernán thinks that Mr. Chen image could be too strong to their clients. Okay, so in the choice of the advisor, the first thing that I will do is to analyze if the project is viable in a financial sense. The case said that Mr. Chen is near to close a deal of $6 million. So we can make an income statement of the projects, analyzing only the future and relevant cash flows. So the total income will be the 6 million project of Mr. Chen. We don't have the figure of the oil cost, the variable cost, but I'm going to assume 87%. Why am I assuming this figure? Because it's the variable cost that we don't know and where the net profit goes to zero. The fixed expenses as well as the commission are given by the case. So in this case, in this scenario, as I told before, we have a net profit of zero. We can analyze in the right upper corner chart that this representation office could be financially viable depending of the transference price between Aceitera del Sol and the representation office. So this is the first conclusion. It's really important to agree as soon as possible this cost. Well, I also think that it will not be too fair to compare a 5 months agreement with 1 year expenses. So I make a scenario, an additional scenario, where I extrapolate the 6 million deal to 1 year. In this case, if Mr. Chen is selling 6 million oil in 5 months, in a full year will be $14.4 million. In this case, the fixed cost will reduce it, and Aceitera del Sol will have a net profit of $661,000. So we can conclude that this office will be financially viable. Okay, so once we have concluded that the representation office could be financially viable, it's time to board other problems and concerns about this deal. I split the problems in 3 different categories. The first one is strategy and communication. And the first problem is that Don Luis decides by himself to open the representation office without telling his manager team. This is a common problem when the founders of the company, it's also the president of the company. But Don Luis should understand that to establish a board of directors to discuss the top decisions could help the future of the company. The second problem is the congruence between the representation office and the strategy of Aceitera del Sol. In this case, the best way to evaluate if a strategy is congruent and we are in the well direction, in the good direction, is to create a balanced scorecard including all the key performance indicators to measure the goals of the company. The third problem is the geographical distance between the representation office and Aceitera del Sol. In this case, I recommend to establish communication channels in virtual meetings and maybe visits in situ of the representation office, but it will also help to have a real-time dashboard. If we have a real-time dashboard, the teams in the both sides of the world could have exactly the same numbers at the same time. The second category are the representation office agreements or the lack of them. The objective of the representation office are not defined. Okay, in this case, it's important to set goals in company of the both teams, and in order to achieve this objective, we could create a financial forecast for the next 12 or 24 months. In this case, it's important to talk with Mr. Chen and establish all the teams, the objectives, financial objectives that we want to The second problem is that the transference pricing isn't defined. Well, this problem has been exposed in the previous slide, so I just want to say that it's important to establish as soon as possible the transference pricing. And the other problem is that Mr. Chen doesn't issue the financial information yet. It's important to define all the responsibilities of Mr. Chen, and in the case of the financial information, it will be also important to conduct an annual external audit with the information provided by Mr. Chen. And the third group, the customer relationship, there is an important risk that maybe Mr. Chen have a trouble with Don Luis and he decide to stall all the clients. So Aceitera del Sol should develop a process to contact all the clients in China in a direct line. So all these controls are defined to minimize the risk of this deal. It's important to find a balance between the limits, the controls, and the freedom, the values of Mr. Chen. Because we can create as many controls as we imagine, but we should understand that this representation office has 5 months old. So we need to establish controls that are congruent with this maturity. That's all for my part. Thank you very much for watching this video.